Okay, in this video we're going to be checking out the Foxeer Predator cameras here in the micro and mini versions, and this is the version 3 of these cameras. I have footage at the end of the micro camera. The mini is pretty much the same, just the only difference is the lens. The sensor is the same on both of these cameras. So the only difference you're going to see in the image quality is a little bit more clarity because of the glass larger lens. It's an M12 versus an M8, but otherwise they're pretty much the same. And what they changed from version 2 is the version I marked it version 2 here. The version 3, they pretty much look the same externally. It looks like they got the same lens and everything. I believe the sensor is the same, the way they fixed the blue casting in the version 2 versus the version 1, and I believe that's also the same. From what I can tell, the image quality looks the same from 2 to 3. Now what they did is they changed the plug on the version 3 here. So on the version 2 they have this single 5-pin plug here, and I think that's where they combined the OSD and voltage sensor lines on the side here, and they've now reverted back to the way they used to do things a long time ago, where they had actually a long time ago they had a 3-pin plug here and a 2-pin plug. Now they have a 4-pin plug here with a voltage sensor line on the 4th pin, and they got a separate 2-pin plug here for the OSD joystick. The same OSD joystick that they used before, just that now they've broken out the pins like this. I'm not sure why they did that. Maybe because this was from people wanted to do this way so they could plug in the joystick separately instead of having a little dongle. I'm not exactly sure. And then the other major change from version 2 to version 3 is now the camera is NTSC and PAL switchable, whereas there were 2 separate versions before, and it's 4.3 and 16.9 switchable. Before it was only 4.3. Now you can switch it from 4.3 to 16.9. I'm going to show you that. It kind of looks like they're doing something like SuperView when they go from 4.3 to 16.9, because it's still a 4.3 sensor. And let me just show you that. So go ahead and plug this in and show you what I'm talking about on the monitor and what the differences are in the settings. Okay, so I got the camera powered up and plugged in here. We're looking at right now we're in NTSC mode and 4.3, and this is actually 16.9 style monitor. You can actually switch it to 4.3, so it's a little stretched out here from what you're actually looking at in the goggles. Now when you go into the menu here, so there's the standard menu, of course. This is not changed. You press the center button, takes you in here. You can adjust your image settings here, etc., and also turn off the camera ID. This here is not any different. So if you want to see what this is all about, see the version 2 video, and I'll put a card in the corner for that if you want to see that video. What's different is the FPV menu. So you press and hold the up button for 3 seconds. This is the OSD menu, and then here you can turn off the things on the bottom, like the name, power on time, etc., the voltage, and so you can turn those on and off here. So that's the time, the power, the voltage alarm. You can also adjust the voltage calibration here as well. And then here is this mode called LED. That's if you're using the light tracks mode, you can turn that on and off here as well. And then the last two are going to be NP, which is NTSC PAL, currently set to NTSC, and then you have the size, which is switchable from 4.3 to 16.9. So I'm going to leave it on NTSC. Not a whole lot of difference between NTSC and PAL. I'll go ahead and switch that here, and what it does is actually resets the camera when you do that. The image looks the same, it's just basically the frame rate's a little bit different, and I think that the field of view looks slightly different. It's very unnoticeable to me. I'm going to go back to NTSC, and we'll exit, and that should reboot the camera. So now we're in NTSC mode and 4.3 mode, and we're at the menu here. So if you look at the way the field of view is, you see the bookcase over here, and then there's this little light over here on the left side. And you can see that the vertical field of view is you have the ceiling fan there, and then this little box here. And if you go to 16.9, it doesn't look all that different. It just looks like the aspect ratio is switched a little bit. So it looks like, let me go back here, it looks like it's got a little bit wider. The vertical looks the same as before. So if you go back and forth, here's 4.3, 16.9. The 4.3, 16.9, the vertical field of view looks virtually identical. And I think what's going on here is they're doing something like a SuperView, where they're maintaining the aspect ratio here in the center, and they're stretching out the edges here. So it looks like the edges are more distorted. So there's 4.3, See how it looks kind of not as wide over here, and then you go to 16.9, it looks more distorted on the edges, whereas the center actually looks less distorted. Right here in the center looks more distorted, like it's wider here at the door. Here the wide door is narrower. So I think that's what they're doing, because it's still a 4:3 sensor, and they're manipulating the image to fill a 16:9 aspect ratio. So I think that they're doing this for those guys that have the 16:9 goggles. They want to take full advantage of the sensor and still have a normal perspective in the center, and they're stretching at the edges so that they basically fill in the whole field of view on the 16:9 goggles. I think that's why they did this. Other than that, it doesn't look like the same kind of field of view compared to the Monster. It just looks like the same field of view as all the other Predators, but with some modifications to the aspect ratio on the edges. That's my take on it. I don't know what you guys think. Leave your comments below as to what you guys think. I'm really curious to see what you guys think in terms of what this is. It doesn't seem like that they're cutting off the field of view, maybe slightly going to 4:3, but it looks pretty much the same to me. Just the distortion is a little bit different from center to the edge. Anyway, that's really all that's different in the version 3. I'll go ahead and show you the flight demo footage. I recorded that in the 4:3 mode NTSC, and the image quality looks the same to me as the version 2. So if you're worried about the image quality, I don't think it's gotten any better or any worse. It looks the same to me. It's just that they made these changes to the plug and to the settings so that you have the switchable NTSC PAL and 4.3.16.9.